Has he done it before?
Sorry folks, we interrupted this broadcast, but it has come to our attention that yet another attack has occurred by Russian pro-separatists in Ukraine, this time claiming loss of life on both sides and has been the most fierce of fighting in months. The fighting is unclear as to which side will come out as victor, and we now go on to our live reporter on the scene, Alan, following Ukrainian forces near the border, fighting pro-Russian tanks and troops.
Thank you, Anthony. As you can see, Ukraine forces are desperately trying to push separatist forces out of the border. Let's hope that Ukraine forces can successfully push them out, or otherwise they'll leave an open gap, which could overwhelm these forces.
Thank you, Ellen, for this live reportage, and with many people not knowing this conflict, here's a short summary of why there have been vicious combat in Ukraine since 2014. Ukraine, when it was first beginning, was under strict rule of the Tsarist regime in Russia throughout many centuries, but however, when the outbreak of World War I started in 1914, it became clear that the Russian Empire was beginning to weaken, and in 1917, a coup d'etat happened with the Bolshevik overthrowing the Tsar and his government. After this, Ukraine decided to quickly try and gain its independence, gambling that the chaos caused by the Bolshevik would give them time to form. However, the Bolshevik organized faster and an offensive was launched. The Winter War began. It lasted from 1917 till 1921, with eventually Soviet troops overwhelming Ukrainian forces. The Ukraine government failed to fend them off, and the Soviet rule was established as the Ukrainian SSR.
After the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine created a new government and split from Russia, and it was going well, until major problems emerged with a clear divide in the country.
Ukraine has a split in the country. One part is with the Ukrainian West and the East with the Russians, and this divide has created a lack of identity and nationality. When pro-Russian demonstrations and pro-European clash between each other, officially sparking chaos with the government, officially leading into the Orange Revolution.
Sorry, Anthony, wait a minute. As the front line has been pushed forward, I have to be transferred to somewhere safe. I'll be right back.
Putin annexed Crimea and gained large popularity in Russia. This convinced him to fund rebel groups to attack certain areas of Ukraine to gain even more popularity with his uprising in 2012. However, with the military pushing them back, it scared him, so he decided in 2014 to move large amounts of Russian troops and equipment in the border of Ukraine to support the rebels fighting the Ukraine military. To this day, the conflict is still ongoing.
Alright, I'm back, Anthony. Oh my god. Alright. This conflict is strongly felt in Russia, with huge sanctions being put in place to deter Russia. This has also alerted NATO and are now strongly militarizing near Russia, with Russia doing exactly the same thing. This conflict is very fragile, as it could lead to a global conflict and potentially World War III. This conflict is far greater than any pre-World War I nationalist conflict, as it could potentially turn into a great dangerous war with the world. The Ukraine-Russian issue, however, has led to a fighting in April 2014. At the time, pro-Russian activists seized control of government buildings in towns and cities and raised Russian flags on top of those buildings.
After the incident, a referendum was held in Ukraine on the issue of whether Ukraine should return to Russia. The referendum failed to return Ukraine back to Russia.
After the referendum and the incident, Ukraine President Viktor Yanukovych ordered a military protection against Ukraine separatists. The fighting ended on 5th of September 2015, when separatists came to a deal to halt the violence and free prisoners. However, a death of 5,665 people, including the shutdown of a civilian airplane, MH17, ended the fighting. The fighting in Ukraine is an internal conflict between the Russian-friendly and the separatists. Although the fighting ended, it still brought some larger-scale conflicts globally. The Ukraine conflict can open a challenge to the European order, as Russia has always been challenging the principles of European order that countries are free to choose their alliances, and Russia has always been against of the leading rule of Western countries. Also as a result, the Ukraine crisis has built up a superpower in Asia and Europe. Russia has become an important game decision for Ukraine and the Ukraine conflict. In this situation, Asian countries has been strengthened their relationship with Russia. Japan has opened up to Russia, seeking a territorial settlement with Russia, also to keep Russia from joining China's side, and same as China and South Korea. The Ukraine government, however, has two sides. One is the separatist side, and the other is the Russian-friendly side. Europe has opened a door for Ukraine other than Russia in the conflict, so separatists want Ukraine to stay away from Russia and to join Europe's side. However, the Russian-friendly side thinks that only Russia can solve the nasty situation in Ukraine, and want Ukraine to return to Russia. Europe and the United States are the two elements helping to spark conflicts between Ukraine and Russia and to get benefits from it. However, Europe has given Ukraine government some help during the conflict. As we already talked about, due to the rise of the superpower in the conflict in Asia, Asian countries has been competing to strengthen the strategic relationship with Russia.
The Ukraine conflict is a long-term conflict between Ukraine and Russia, started from the Cold War and lasted until today, and has fallen into the victim of a proxy war.
It is complicated and hard to explain from Cold War to modern, but hope you understood it.